Mr. Secretary, as you talked about visiting 18 countries and not being with your kids, I had a pain of guilt with you being here today, but thank you for making this a priority and being with us today. This might surprise some of my colleagues and maybe even you, but for the last several years, I've led a Republican delegation over to the Conference of the Parties, COP, and I believe that a Republican voice is really important at that table. I would point to issues, for instance, like nuclear. When I first started attending COP, nuclear was out of power, and we were shouting from the housetops that we had to have nuclear power, and I think that's shown the influence of a Republican voice over there. Your agency has done, and I applaud, a lot of reduction in cost cutting. Part of that's been the State Department's Office of Global Change, which would normally handle the COP arrangements. I'm wondering who we would work with, and if you've given any thought of who we can coordinate to make sure the U.S. and that we have a good presence over there in Brazil.
Yeah, so that'll be rolled into our Economics Bureau and the restructure. And I think on the energy front, it's actually going to be at the forefront of foreign policy for the next 100 years. One of the reasons why just AI alone and AI development alone is going to put a strain on the amount of energy that it's going to take to produce AI and AI-driven innovations will. We just don't produce enough global energy to meet it. And so it's going to provide two things: the strategic opportunities for nations that can deliver cost-efficient energy and in a sufficient volume. It's going to become an enormous opportunity for these countries to be leaders in the AI space. But the other is it's going to put a strain on everybody else because it's going to use up those energy resources. So we need to be at the table to have conversations about how, not just what our role in energy is, but how we help invest or partner with countries that have a supply of energy. So as an example, Paraguay has a hydroelectric plant right now, and they were in a long-term deal with Brazil where they sold them 50% of the energy being produced. That deal is now expired. They're trying to figure out what to do with the 50% of electricity generated by hydropower that is no longer going to be going to Brazil. And they can't put that in a tank and ship it overseas. So someone, if they're smart, is going to go down to Paraguay and open up an AI facility. Guyana has just made extraordinary discoveries on natural gas and oil. This is a country that's going to become incredibly rich very quickly and has an opportunity to both invest that wealth to develop their society, but also become a platform for other industries that could help strengthen the region.
For the sake of time, I just would love to work with the State Department on that, make sure we have a good presence for that message. I also believe the United States can carry a message that you don't have to give up affordability, you don't have to give up reliability, and we can also be clean. I think that's a really strong message for us. Foreign assistance has been talked about a lot today, and I'd like to just point out that there are a number of philanthropic entities in Utah. We have the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints who are really ready to stand up and go to work. I know Catholic Charities, there's many like that. And just want to make sure you're factoring those into kind of your rebuild and restructure. I know there are a lot of people like that ready to jump in and be part of this.
Absolutely. And just to go back on foreign aid for a moment, we're going to be doing foreign aid. We're going to be doing humanitarian relief, disaster relief. We're going to be doing all the things we've done before, maybe not some of the same projects, but we're going to be doing all of it. The difference is it's going to be coordinated out of the umbrella of the State Department, and it's going to be part of a cohesive, coherent foreign policy. And it's going to be driven by our embassies and our regional bureaus. So in the case of the Philippines, which was brought up a moment ago, we're going to rely not just on the region, the bureau here in Washington, but in our embassy on the ground to help us every single year construct what aid needs to be delivered, be it humanitarian or disaster relief or the like, to that country. And that's been missing, that sort of cohesive approach to how we treat foreign aid as a tool in our broader toolbox, as opposed to its own toolbox altogether. We want to make it part of our broader toolbox on foreign policy.
Yeah, and I think my only footnote is, as we do that, let's keep in mind that many people are willing to participate and be part of this without a drag on the U.S. tax dollar that I think can complement the vision that you just laid. I've had the opportunity to work with you on the House side on some legislation and to some degree fill some of your big shoes here on Taiwan and Hong Kong. And I just wanted to touch on that briefly. I know Senator Ricketts brought up Taiwan with the recent implementation of more national security laws and the blockade-style drills around Taiwan. How can Congress better work with you and your department to support you and make sure we're doing everything that we can do?
I mean, unfortunately, with Taiwan, I think with Hong Kong, as we've seen, is its autonomous Stan, I think our law now reflects that, is no longer real. It is basically an extension of, and I think one of the great examples of that is a company named Hutchison Ports, which is headquartered in Hong Kong. And they control two of the main facilities, the two main facilities on the Panama Canal. And everyone was saying, well, they're not a Chinese company. They're not Chinese. They're a private Hong Kong company. Well, when Hutchison Ports decided they were going to sell, all of a sudden the Chinese government's put all kinds of pressure on them, and it slowed down the deal. So how can it be if this company is an independent Hong Kong company, why do they care what the Chinese authorities think? Well, the reason is because they are under Chinese control and Chinese influence. And the fact they're headquartered in Hong Kong is no longer a protection from that. So I think it's important for us to understand Hong Kong cannot become a place where China can evade, be it sanctions or restrictions, by simply hiding behind some company who has an address there. It is sadly, tragically, and unfortunately, fully under the control, for national security perspectives, of authorities in Beijing.
And sadly, as part of that, has lost all of the values that were in Hong Kong before, of a free press, of free people, that went with that as well.
Yeah, those are incompatible with authoritarian rule.
Good.